the beauty that's all around us. So let's look at the Zoom boxes and say Shabbat Shalom. It's good to see you. I'm sorry that we're not sharing space, but we're sharing time. And that's a really important thing. So thank you for sharing your time with us. And we'll spend this time in prayer and reflection. Let's begin with Shalom Aleichem on page 13. If you have your Siddur there. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you, God, for the gift of Shabbat. We turn to page 15. L'chun ranana, l'chun ranana l'Adonai, na'ariya l'tzur yishenu. Let us rejoice, for today is Shabbat. Arba'im shana akut bedor, ba'omar am to'e lebavhem, behem lo yad'u derachai, asher nishbati be'api. Im yevon hamanuchati. Page 16. Shiru l'Adonai. Shiru l'Adonai. Shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai. Kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai. Baruch hu shemo. Basru miyom. Le'yom Yeshuato. Sapru v'goyim. Kevodo b'chol ha'amim nifleotav ki gadol Adonai u'olam me'od norahu al kol Elohim Elai, 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 Kiva lishbot haaretz, lishbot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim be'emunato. Page 17. Adonai malach tagel haaretz yismachu im rabim. Ki ata Adonai elyon al kol haaretz. Meod na'aleta al kol Elohim Ohave Adonai sinura Shomer nafshot chasidav Miyad rishayim yatzilem Or zaru latzadik Ulishrei lev simcha Simchu tzadikim badonai Behodu lezecher kodsho. We turn to page 19 toward the bottom. Romamu. Romamu means to raise up, to lift up. And so this evening, we lift up our sorrow, we lift up our trauma, and we give it voice. little strange, right? On Shabbat, we teach, right, that we should have oneg. We should have enjoyment on Shabbat. So here's the question: how do we have enjoyment after tragedy? Right? How do we rejoice after what we've been through and the shock and that we've all experienced? One of the ways our rabbis have done it traditionally is when bad things happen, one response is to learn resilience, to learn from our failure, to learn strength, to learn wisdom. And so that redemption, there's a catalyst, right, of trauma that leads towards redemption. And it's called Ikvei Mashiach, right? The Chevelei Mashiach, the pains, the trauma that we can grow from. It happens, and we can grow from it. And so that's one of the ways we can contextualize, especially on Shabbat, right? When we're commanded to rejoice and enjoy. Perhaps we can contextualize it as a moment of truth and growth, and lift up the trauma. And let us be lifted by it. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu beishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu beishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu beishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu beishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. We turn to page 20. Mizmor LaDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei elim. Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz. Havu l'Adonai kivod shemo. Ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim melach kavod hirim. Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai bakoach. Kol Adonai behadar. Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vayishaber Adonai et arzei halbanon. Vayarkidem kemo egel Lebanon. Besiryon kemo vein re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh. Kol Adonai yachil Adonai midbar kadesh. Kol Adonai yechol layalot. Ba'yechesof ye'arot. Uvehechalo kulo omer kavod. Kulo omer kavod. Adonai lama buyasha vayeshev. Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'am oiten. Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Page 21. Lechando dili krat gala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechando dili krat gala p'nei Shabbat nekabe. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשמו תפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו בניך כי מקור הברכה בראש מקדם נשואה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקב מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קום יצאי מתוך ההפכה רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקב התנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי על יד בן ישי ותלחמי קרבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקב התעוררי כי בעורר קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. So I can almost hear Ken Levine in my head. Can you believe that? I can't hear him in my head. It's not almost. I can't hear him in my head. It's so beautiful. Thank you for singing with me. We rise. Bottom of page 22. Boi b'shalom hateret bala gam besimcha ubetzohala toch emunei al segula boi chala Olecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nikabela Olecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nikabela Page 23, we sing a song for Shabbat. Mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, l'zamer l'shimcha elyon, hagid b'boker chasidacha v'emunotcha b'leilot. Thank you for giving us the opportunity, Adonai, to sing songs to you. Tzadik katamar yifra keres balvanon yizke shetulim bebeit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yinubun b'sevad shenim rananim yiyu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri velo ablatabo Adonai malach. Page 24. This might be a good one for tonight. Yeah, so usually it has a lot of meaning after natural events, right? After acts of God, we call them, right? Acts of nature, right? Hurricanes and tornadoes and floods. We read this psalm. It says, although the rivers may rise and rage, right, we're going to survive, right? That there's eternal values that are going to hold us together. And so perhaps we can use this one this evening. It wasn't an act of God, but rather an act of humankind that shook us. And so the rivers may rise and rage. Right? There may be trauma along the way, but God knows we're going to be all right. Adonai is sovereign, crowned with splendor. Adonai reigns, robed in strength. You set the earth on a sure foundation. You created a world that stands firm. Your kingdom stands from earliest time. You are eternal. The rivers may rise and rage. The waters, the deep, dark waters, may pound and pulsate. The floods may swirl and storm. Yet above all the noise, yet above all the crash of the sea and its mighty breakers, and the mightiest of breakers, is Adonai our God, supreme. Your decrees, Adonai, never fail. Your holiness befits your house. Your holiness will stay with us for eternity. Edotechanem numeletchan avakodesh Adonai leorech yamin. And so mourners can unmute for the Mourners Kaddish.
Yikadal, Amen. Amen. Shalom
Amen. So friends, in a moment we'll continue with the Mariv service. I want to thank Ariella Teller for participating along with me in the Zoom box. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Page 28, we continue with the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Ba'ed.
We continue on page 28. You may be seated.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavio ben yom uben laila, Adonai tziva'ot shemo, El Chai v'kayam, et hamidim v'chalenu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha Torah u'mitzvot chokim u'mishpatim otanu limadita Akin Adonai Eloheinu b'shokvenu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha li'olam bo'ed ki hem chayenu v'yorech yamenu v'yorech yamenu uvahem nege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla v'avatecha tasir mimenu li'olamim baruch ata Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha ub'lechtecha b'derech ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאותה ידיך והיו לטוטפו בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך היום ארנה משתמעות בנס. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 32. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורתי אלוהים עושה פלא מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה זה אלינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי בדד אדוני את יעקב גלום יד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Friends, before we recite the Hashkivenu prayer, Hashkivenu is a prayer of protection, and there was a moment during this week that there was some serious dark energy coming at us, and when one goes through a trauma, there's a bracha that one recites having survived a trauma, which is Birkat HaGomel. And so the question that I have tonight is whether or not to recite a Birkat HaGomel, which is a prayer that we recite after being through a trauma. And so one of the questions is, I think one of the factors is if we should or shouldn't. is if it was a personal trauma, right? So that's a question. Was it a communal trauma or a personal trauma? Right? If it's a trauma that happened for someone else, then I think that would not be a cause for Birkat HaGamel. But if it happened to us, then it would be, right? For sure, right, there was a moment when we were panicking for others. We were panicking for our congressional leaders. We were panicking for our first responders. And they were in serious, serious, grave danger and beyond, right? And injuries and a death. And so for sure, right, they would recite Birkat HaGomel in shul if they have, or say a prayer to wherever they pray. But what about us, right? In discussion with a few of our members, there was a moment there where when I didn't quite know what was happening, and I just heard there some noise, and I knew that someone took over the Capitol, and like I felt that I was in danger. There was like 3 seconds that I felt like, oh my God, like America's going down, or just like what's happening, but it didn't. It was brief, but it was there, right? And so that was enough for me to say, you know what, I felt like I was in danger. I felt traumatized, right, for like personally for a few seconds, right? It didn't last long. I turned on the TV and I figured out, okay, I'm safe, but they're not, right? But on behalf of that moment, I've decided that I'll recite the Birkat HaGomel. And so it's up to you to decide if you felt personally traumatized or vicariously traumatized, right? But if it gets personal, then you can join me. So on page 142 in our Siddur, if you have your Siddur there. If not, I'll sort of say it slowly, and you can repeat after me. And we'll just do the one for the person who's been through trauma, and then that's the first one up there. And the bracha starts the same, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, and then the rest of it is Hagomel l'chayavim tovot, who helps people, right? Who gives people good things, Shegmalani kol tov, and who helped me survive this trauma, to live another day and to rebuild and to heal. And so here we go. I'm prepared to recite this bracha. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hagomel l'chayavim tovot, Shegmalani kol tov. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, for showing goodness to us beyond our merits, for bestowing favor upon me. And I say that on behalf of myself and everyone who went through the first-hand trauma, and all of us who kind of witnessed it secondhand. Right? May we heal and may we rebuild, and may we use Hashkivenu, our prayer of protection, to help us heal. Ken Levine.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros alenu sukat shelamecha, Baruch Atah Adonai haporis sukat shalom alenu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Yerushalayim v'shameru b'nei Yisrael et hashavat la'asor et hashavat lidorotam berit olam beni uven b'nei Yisrael oti leolam. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבה וינפש. יתגדע ויתגדע שמי רבה, ביומה דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכונו ויומכון ובחייך בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יש מרבה מברך לעולם עולמי עמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כה ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בימה ויאמרו amen. We have an opportunity to recite silently the Amidah, the words of the Amidah, which begin on page 35. We invite you to complete your private davening. We're going to say the Oseh Shalom, a prayer which recognizes God as not only the source of shalom, but of shlemut, of completeness and of wholeness. Oseh Shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom, shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. V'yimeru, amen.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. One of the unique aspects, I'm not sure if it's unique, one of the foundational aspects of Judaism is that there's darkness in light and light in darkness. Right? No moment is ever pure darkness nor pure light. So how do we know that? So at a wedding, right? It's a time of joy, pure joy. But we insist that there be a moment of darkness. So in this moment of darkness, why not try to tease out a spark? On Tisha B'Av, right, we mourn and we cry and we lament. But there's an interesting tradition that the Mashiach, the Redeemer, the ultimate redemption, the Redeemer, the Messiah, will be born on Tisha B'Av. Right? And so there you have it, right? In darkness, there can be some light. So where's the light? Right? So Rabbi Gelman taught his colleagues a text from Dr. Rivka Press-Schwartz. I have to find out more about her. Dr. Rivka Press-Schwartz, who writes, "Our relationship to our American Democratic Republic has become largely transactional." And how she defines that is, right, we pay our taxes, we usually support candidates that support what we need, that are personally, right, good for us. And that's okay. But perhaps, she challenges us, we should be more civically engaged and civically responsible than just what's good for us. Right now, we're consumers of a product. The product is our government. But as Jews, we have more responsibility. As Jews, we've suffered at the hand of brutal regimes. We have a painful legacy of discrimination and hatred. We need to be invested in the well-being of Western liberal democracies. As Jews, the questions of what's right and what's good are Jewish questions. The question of how a society should allocate its resources is a Jewish question. And they should matter to us also, in addition to our most basic concerns, like supporting Israel and the rest of our important concerns. Perhaps this coming together as a nation, this civic engagement, would actually be a way to bring a spark of light out of this deep darkness. We sing Mechevle Mashiach Yitzalu Liracha. From the pains of Messiah come redemption and hope. So let's consider a hopeful moment. Not too long ago, in 2017, President Obama wrote a letter to Donald Trump in a transition of office, right? And so I'd like to read that letter, which is an example of how presidents since the beginning of our country have transitioned. Dear Mr. President, writes Barack Obama to Donald Trump. Dear Mr. President, congratulations on a remarkable run. Millions have placed their hopes in you And all of us, regardless of party, should hope for expanded prosperity and security during your tenure. This is a unique office without a clear blueprint for success. So I don't know that any advice from me will be particularly helpful. Still, let me offer a few reflections from the past 8 years. And I'll just read one of them. He writes, "We are just temporary occupants of this office. That makes us guardians of those democratic institutions and traditions, like rule of law, separation of powers, equal protection, and civil liberties, that our forebears fought and bled for. Regardless of the push and pull of daily politics, it's up to us to leave those instruments of our democracy at least as strong as we found them." Right? And so that's the hope from president to president. And that hope is still alive. Mechevlei Mashiach, from the pain that we're experiencing, will come ultimate redemption. Right? Millions and millions of people were watching what happened this week. We all went through this trauma together. And I believe deep in my heart that more good people will get involved in politics and civic life because of this. That's my belief, that's my hope, and that's my prayer. In addition, all of us, right, will wake up and do what we can to support the ideals of democracy, of freedom, of liberty, of justice, of equality. And in that way, we'll indeed create blessings. Together we'll say Amen. Friends, we continue on page 47 with Vayachulu.
ויכולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וידבוד ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק אלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל אלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון קונה שמיים וארץ מגן עבור בדברו מחיה מתים במאמרו האל הקדוש אין כמוהו המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו כי בם רצה להניח להם כי בם רצה להניח להם לפניו נבוא ברב הפחד ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד בין הברכות אל ההודעות אדון השלום מקדש השבת ומברך שביעי ומניח בקדושה לעמדו שני יונק זכר למעשה למעשה וראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון, שבת קודשך ינוחו בישראל, מקדש שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. יתגלה ויקרא שמי רבה, מיום דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולם המיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלש מקודשה בריחו, לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תפארתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. תקבל צלורון ובהרון לכל ישראל, כל אדם אבהון ושמיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרב אמין שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו Amen. Words of Kiddush, sanctification, page 49. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodesho b'yavo u'v'ratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila l'mikrei kodesh zechel tziyat mitzrayim Kivanu vakarta, Yotanu kidashta, Mikohamim, Shabbat kodecha, B'yava u'beratzon, Kimchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Continue page 51 with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, ha'tei gedula liyotzeh breshit, shelo asanu ki goyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mitparot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בנות השמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממער, ושכינת זו בגובה מרומי. אלוהינו אינו אמת מכנו בזולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת יום בהשיבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ימל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. כך כתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Friends, we commemorate the following Yortzites: Anne Berkowitz, Patricia Botticelli, Jean Cooper, Aaron Durman, Celia Engelhart, Max Morris Friedman, William Friedman, Estelle Ginsberg, Harold Israel, Nathan Kanowitz, Russell King, Ron Kriegsman, Barbara Levine, Trude Lowy Camp, Jack Merkin, Stephen Robinson, Irene Ross, Maluk Sadat, Evelyn Shanus, Albert Seidel, Mort Silverblatt, Fred Sklar, Irving Slater, Larry Stewart, Herman Weiss, Katie Wolf. Mourner's Kaddish, page 52. You can unmute for the Mourner's Kaddish.
Yigadal v'yikadash merava. Yalmod divrach yirkei. Chayet yomei konu v'yeida kol beit Yisrael. Allah v'kman bari v'imru amen. Yehesh me'rava v'amaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach Amen.
And may the one who makes peace above bring peace and comfort to us below, and together we say Amen. Friends, I'm so sorry for your losses. Ken and Levine, how many years?
9 years now.
9 years. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Reflections on 9 years? I don't know what's happening now.
I'm sure, like everybody, in a sense, there's a sense of it's gone past very quickly, and on the other hand, there's also a sense of just it's almost as if it's surreal and is almost forever ago, and there's a hole that heals but never goes away.
Beautiful. Thank you. And learners, it's nice to see you and your family. I'm so sorry for your loss. Morgan and Meredith, I'm glad you're here and giving honor to your family, and Shabbat Shalom. How you doing? Everything good? How many years? Remind me.
Karen.
8 years.
Would you mind reflecting? What does that feel like?
I remember my father being such an amazing role model and loving all generations, and how he used to hold Riley and Meredith and Morgan with such tenderness and deep, deep love. And that's what is filling my mind and my heart right now, is just how much he cared for his grandkids, other grandkids as well. But the three that are represented here are forefront in my mind. Wonderful memory.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's beautiful. Hey, Elise. I'm sorry for your loss. You want to add, or does that work? That works. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Hard week. I'm glad you're here. Tomorrow morning, 9:30, we'll do some more reflecting and some more healing. I brought some other presidential notes that are just so beautiful to reflect on. And that's been very healing for me, to know that that has been the tradition and will be the tradition once again. Let's continue with Hatikva. Any other announcements, Ken Levine, before we continue? I got one. There's a project we're working on called My Prayer Path that's beginning to come to life. And what that means is it's going to be a self-guided walking tour through the Nature Discovery Center with prayer markers along the way. And so you'll enter into a prayer space and then we'll walk around and then Oseh Shalom Bimromav and come on out. So it should be very interesting. It's going to be opening in about 3 weeks at the end of January near Tu B'Shvat. And so look forward to that. I'm really excited about it. And, I'm most excited to do it myself. So that's how I know I think people are going to like it. By like it, I mean have a meaningful experience in nature. Hatikva is calling me because of the pandemic, right? That they're doing such a good job at distributing. Moshe, how's it going in Israel? Do you hear news? Can you from Israel? My family's been vaccinated. I have my parents, my brother-in-law and sister. My daughter, thank you. My daughter,
They ran out of vaccines. They did it so well, they ran out of vaccines.
they distribute them all? I mean,
They were very efficient in the distribution.
yes.
They ran out of vaccine. I think they just received a new shipment, but they don't have enough vaccine yet for everybody.
I see. They distribute it all and they order another shipment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Wow. About what percent are they at? What percent vaccinated? Do you have?
I think I remember seeing something about 10% was already vaccinated. Yeah.
10%. Wow, that was more. That's amazing. Wow.
They're working fast.
Ooh, they're working faster than we are. Yeah. So we are praying for efficiency and delivery. So Ken Levine, if you'll lead us in the Hatikva as we connect to our brothers and sisters in Israel, around the globe, and with the entire globe in this pandemic.
Zion Sophia, O Lord, Tikvatenu, Hatikva Vashnot Alpayim, Leotam Chofshi Be'atzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim, Liotam Chofshi Be'atzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. Shabbat Shalom.
That's a priestly benediction. So.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav panavilecha v'yichoneka. Yisa Adonai panavilecha v'yasim lecha shalom.
King Yehi Ratzon. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom and thank you.
A good week, everyone.
Love seeing all you learners.
Shalom.
Although Meredith and Morgan, you guys are chickens.
Yeah.
Hiding
Show
behind
your
your
face.
I
pictures.
was a little late to the game.
It's a great picture, Meredith.
Yeah.
Is Elise still on here? I hope she's gone.
Oh,
Okay.
she gotta, yeah.
Do we know how she's feeling?
Shabbat Shalom.
She's better.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Thank God.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom. Thanks for
Shabbat
shalom.
Oh, there she is. Wow. Hi, Morgan.
Oh,
Hey. Hi.
How are you?
At least Meredith is the only
Hi,
chicken.
sweetie. Yeah.
How you doing? Where are you? What's happening?
I'm in Chicago.
How's
I
it
got a
going?
late notice of this service. That's why
No problem.
I'm not on camera. I didn't want to be.
It's really good to see you. And how are
yes,
things?
indeed.
Yes, so nice that we can do this.
How are things in Chicago?
What?
How are things in Chicago?
Good. It's hard to tell when you kind of live in a quarantine bubble, but cold.
Yeah. Cold.
Definitely colder than Houston.
Definitely.
But
good.
I'll actually be in Houston. Meredith and I are coming in a bit. We've delayed travel because of everything, but I don't think we can delay it any longer.
No.
Nice. Time to come home.
Yes,
The,
and
the pole
he's
is
vaccinated.
the
I feel a
gravitational
little
pull.
bit better. Yes.
I walked by the old homestead today and it made me think of you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Aw, I know.
Looks a bit different.
Yeah.
It does look different. They've changed a lot,
Just a little.
Very modern.
sort of.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Good Shabbos,
Shabbos.
everyone.
Shabbat
Thanks a
shalom.
lot.
Thanks. Where's my leave button? There you go.